In this video, we'll look at how to dominate the skincare and beauty industry if you're looking to build a brand in 2026. How the beauty and skincare industry actually works. We look at three distinct type of brands in this video. The ones that the market says are copycats, the ones that solve for an actual problem, and finally the ones that dominate just based upon their positioning and the branding. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a three-part framework that will teach you how to dominate the skincare and beauty industry. How I can say this confidently is because I usually charge a lot of money just to do this for brands that come to me. A copycat brand acquired at a 3,000 crore valuation. Let that sink in for a second. Of course, we're talking about Minimalist, the brand that the internet called just an Indian knockoff of The Ordinary. Just got acquired by Hindustan Unilever for a number that made the entire industry stop and stare. And they're not the only ones. Some of the biggest names in the skincare and beauty industry have borrowed things from other brands that have already existed in the market. How are these brands that everyone feels are just copycats building and dominating entire markets? Is there even a need for originality, or the entire branding industry has been lying to you? Well, I'm from the branding industry, so let me help and break it down for you. I'm Yogesh and I'm the founder of SimplePlan Media, an agency that has been operational for the last 8 years. We have worked with over 300 brands, and our brands have dominated every possible domain, including the skincare domain. These are DIY videos that we are creating just for founders who are looking to build their brands by themselves. First, let's look at Minimalist and how they won. So Minimalist on the first glance looks exactly like The Ordinary, which is an international brand, has been in the market for a lot of years. When you look at the packaging and how the products look side by side, it's hard to disagree that Minimalist isn't a copy of The Ordinary. So understanding why it worked, that's the actual framework. First, Minimalist identified a real gap in the Indian market. The Ordinary is a brand that works in the Western market, especially the North American, European market. And it solves for a very clear problem, that it removes the fluff out of skincare. The packaging is very clean, it's very transparent. They just simply tell you what is in the product. And that sort of transparency simply did not exist in the Indian market. Sure, Ordinary might have been selling in India as well at that point of time, but the price point was too inaccessible because they didn't officially launch in India. So that's the gap that Minimalist found. It is a copy, but Ordinary wasn't a product that was available readily in India. So they took over that concept and they applied to a totally different market, which is India. Next up, they did the pricing. So India is a very price sensitive market. To solve for that, they launched their products at a very affordable price so that everyone feels the need to try these products once at least. So the branding, positioning and the overall concept of the brand was already validated. What Minimalist really had to do was to apply it to the Indian context, make sure that they can launch products within a price point that works for a market like India. And that's pretty much it. And all of this was refreshing in a market like India, which was dominated by legacy players like Pond's, Lakme, L'Oreal, which was all about fluff, all about fancy visuals. All of them were trying to do too much. So seeing a monochrome carton or packaging was refreshing for the end consumers and a brand that talks very directly to them. If this is a scale from minimalism to maximalism, all Indian brands were falling into this category. Everyone had very similar packaging, very similar positioning. Everyone was talking about how you need to be pretty. Everyone was falling under the same positioning angles. So there was a gap inherently to lie somewhere along this metric with a minimal brand that talks transparently, which does not show overly glorified models and Aishwarya Rai in their ad campaigns. That is where the gap existed. They identified that and then they created a brand around it. Sure, this was a copy of The Ordinary, but that's not Ordinary. They should have launched in a country like India. That's why Minimalist succeeded. It's as simple as that. Find a gap, build a bridge. That's the play. By the way, if you're looking to understand more about this framework and how an actual gap is identified, we have created a detailed video on that. I'm going to link it along with this video, so do check it out. We post weekly videos that teach you about branding and how to build a brand. So if you're a business owner, if you're someone in the branding domain, if you're looking to learn about branding, then you have to give this channel a follow. The best part about that is it is free of cost and we are sharing insights that we have gathered over the last 8 years. Let's look at a couple of more examples of how a gap is identified in a domain like skincare and beauty. The first one would be the Korean beauty hype. Clearly, since 2018, everyone has been consuming these K-dramas and K-pop is a global phenomenon that has really taken over in a country like India as well, which is why there was an inherent gap. And that's where a lot of skincare brands started launching. The best example of this could be Dot and Key, which identified this gap because Korean beauty products were not readily accessible in a country like India. So people had to either buy from third-party websites or go on platforms like Nykaa. But Korean beauty products actually work on people in Korea, like because they are made for their skin types and their temperature and their weather and all of that. So of course there was a gap for Korean beauty products to be launched in India, keeping in mind the Indian climate and skin textures and skin tones, which is where Dot & Key really succeeded. They positioned themselves in this Korean beauty category, but they were still made for the Indian skin type. The second category of examples would be Derma focused brands. This is a category that really boomed in the pandemic era, where everyone was focused on getting real advice from real doctors, which is where brands like CeraVe got very famous. The fonts were clear, the colors were very safe, and it simply looked like something that a doctor would prescribe. Even the availability of these products was more in pharmacies. So in India, the desire for trustworthy and clinical skincare was real, which is where these brands really succeeded. But the second category are brands that actually solve a real problem. One of the biggest brands that have come out in the last 10 years in the skincare, in the beauty niche has been Mamaearth. Mamaearth did not look at skincare domain for their branding inspiration. They just did something completely different. The first entry point is the name, Mamaearth. It's directly talking to a consumer that is looking for a safe and reliable alternative. And the entire skincare and wellness industry before Mamaearth was filled with beautiful looking brands, but none of them were focused on toxin-free products. So that's where Mamaearth played on. They created products that were toxin-free. They were better than other competitors out there in the market at that point of time. And they really doubled down upon how these skincare products can be good for your skin as well. Along with this, when they launched, the primary positioning played on motherhood and how these young mothers, especially millennial mothers, would want products that are chemical-free for their babies to apply on their skin as well. And that's how they expanded into everything from skincare to hair care to beauty products. But what happens when you can't find a gap that is available in the international market and you don't have any innovation in your products? Majority of skincare brand owners that I personally talk to, 80% of them do not have a laboratory. They're simply buying products from a factory and lab, they're packaging it differently and they're trying to sell it. That is the reality of the beauty and the fashion industry. But what do you do if you fall into that category? Enter the new age category of products. These sort of brands dominate entirely on their positioning and branding. They're not following any global trends. They're not trying to innovate. They're clearly creating a unique brand story, and that's what makes them stand out. One of the greatest levers in this category are cause-based brands. So let's look at FAE Beauty first. They clearly got famous after Shark Tank, but even before that, they had their positioning and story figured out. Their product catalog also has 30 different shades of foundation that is relevant for every different skin tone that is available in a country like India. So they're talking directly to the Indian women and they're trying to make beauty first products that speaks directly to their skin types. And this creates a brand that a specific consumer doesn't just buy from, they belong to. Next example could be Moxie. What FAE is for the Indian skin, Moxie is for the Indian hair. It speaks directly to the Indian women. The brand is loud, it's unapologetic. It's very different than any other hair care brand out there. It does not take the clinical angle. It does not take any safe route. It talks to you like a person that genuinely gets your hair. And the personality of the brand is their differentiator. Which brings me to the conclusion of these entire case studies that we have been talking in this video. How do you create a skincare, beauty or wellness brand in 2026? Let me give you 3 very clear and simple principles that you can work on to build a brand in 2026. First, do not look at your direct competitors. All of these brands that we have talked about, they looked sideways. Minimalist did not look at Lotus or Lakme or Ponds, which were the direct competitors. It looked at The Ordinary, which was an aspirational competitor in an entirely different market. Your most important insight, almost never lives in your own category. Second, find a gap between desire and delivery. Your job is to figure out where a want is unfulfilled by culture, by identity, by the complete positioning. And that unfulfilled want is your brand's entry point. And trust me, there will always be a gap, no matter what domain you're in. So find that gap and build backwards from that gap. And third, when there is no clear differentiation out there, then you create one through a clear positioning. The brands that define the next generation in a category that is as saturated as the skincare market aren't driven by the efficacy or the results that they get in. They are driven by what they stand for. So stand for something. And that's why cause-based brands dominate in the market today, especially in saturated domains. India's skincare market is still booming and it's still growing. So if you are looking to create a brand in 2026, make sure that you build a brand that can last and stand the test of time. Most of you who are creating a brand won't have a very clear differentiation. So your branding and your identity will do the talking. I hope this video was insightful. We have created an entire video series that explains how we build brands end to end. If you want a step-by-step breakdown, then you can check out that video series. I'm going to link it somewhere in this video. And we post videos like this every Thursday. So if you're interested in branding or if you're looking to launch a new brand, we might be covering new categories in the next video. So if there is a specific category that you want us to break down, like we did with skincare and beauty in this video, so just let us know in the comments and we'll create a video with the category with the highest comments or the highest likes. We'll see you in the next one. May the force be with you. Just got acquired by Hindustan Unilever. Just got acquired by Hindustan Unilever. Just got acquired by Just got acquired by Hindustan Unilever.